cover the no fluff action steps to help you avoid all the overwhelm and all the BS out there, connecting you with the right mentors, resources, and tools, helping you every step of the way on your entrepreneurial journey. We go live here twice a week, interviewing different entrepreneurs and experts on all areas of business. So make sure to join our Facebook group and look out for the events inside your entrepreneur resources page. You can find all the links in the description box. Our guest for today is Conny Graf. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for joining us.
I'm awesome, Denise. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So Conny is a Swiss certified expert in finance and accounting, a certified clutter clearing practitioner, astrologer, coach, podcaster, and founder and owner of From Chaos to Peace Consulting. In this interview with Conny, we'll be discussing how to organize the workspace, files, and finances, and the habits, systems, and processes we can implement that prevent any kind of clutter from creeping back in. I think clutter is such a huge issue in a lot of people's lives, so I'm so excited to dive in. But before we do that, do you mind sharing a little bit more about you and your business with us?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I was always fascinated how the environment has an effect on us. I was also I felt that very young already. I was one of these weirdo kids who would rearrange their room constantly growing up, because I kind of realized very early on that whatever surrounds us has an effect on us. And so when I went into finance, and I was always harassed, basically, because my desk was always so nice and clean. But that's how I got all my work done. That's how I was very productive. I finished a big workload usually because I was organized and I had a clean desk. And so I started more and more to helping people figuring it out for themselves, and just also helping them feel how the chaos around them makes them feel, how scattered they become, how less effective they are in their business too. And so that's kind of what I'm all about, and I'm not in a rigid way. And I always say, you have to find the way that works for you. It's not about me telling you what to do. I mean, I can tell you what to do, but you can Google that too. Or I'm helping and I'm guiding you to figure out what works for you, because not everything works for everybody.
Absolutely. I guess clutter also depends on the person, right? Depends on what is clutter to you. So what kind of clutter are we talking about? I'm sure there's physical clutter, but there's also mental clutter, right?
Yeah. And I always joke and say everything starts with mental clutter. Oftentimes when people tell themselves, I was never an organized person, that is already mental clutter. So we may have to deal with that first, with that mental clutter first. There's also emotional clutter. You can have digital clutter, especially now as entrepreneurs in the online space and digital age. We have a lot of digital clutter. And everything has an effect on us. So even the digital clutter, even this clutter you don't necessarily see, has an effect on us, because our subconscious knows it's there. They may know that you have a mess on your computer, or an overfull memory on your phone, or whatever, or 7 million emails that you haven't read. Well, not 7 million, but I saw somebody once with 50,000, and I'm like, oh my God. So you can almost imagine there's all these little strings to everything that you own in your life, whether it's physical, digital, and then also all this mental, these limiting beliefs. So it goes quite deep. Most people are very surprised when I come and say, well, there's more than just whatever piles you're having on your desk.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love when you bring up digital clutter, because I'm guilty. I'm one of those people that have 50,000 emails unread. And, the thing is, just seeing it stresses me out a little bit. It's a little bit anxiety that comes up. My desktop, my old computer had the messiest desktop you would ever see. It's just files on files. So I'm so excited to hear how what kind of tips you have to share. But before we do that, I do want to ask, how does a cluttered workspace, either mentally, either physically, either digitally, how does that affect our business?
So it first and foremost, it affects us. And there's all kinds of scientific studies out there now too, that it affects our brain, it affects our focus, it affects our energy levels. You know too, if you look at your phone or your computer and you see 50,000 unopened emails, you feel a drop inside of you. It may not be extremely noticeable if you're very like today, a lot of people are not so in tune with their body and they're under hustling mode, then you may not feel it as well. But if you just slow down for a second, you actually can feel how the dip in energy. And then of course the effect, if you're feeling like a little bit like pushed down by all this stuff, seriously, you're not showing up in your best potential or your full potential. You're not showing up as clear. Maybe it has even an effect on you're maybe double booking yourself in your calendar. You may forget that you have an appointment. You may run late. You may be scattered. You may not be prepared. You may not find certain things and freak out before, like when you're having to show up for a client call, or whether it's private or business, no, like you don't find things and then you get all frazzled, and we're just not showing up at our best, and then we don't give our best as we could to our clients. So we don't really do them a service. We don't for sure do us a service. And so it has a huge ripple effect, and then it goes further. No, if you had a rough day because of business, because everything didn't work out right, you may it may have ripple effects in your family. You may be short with your children. You may be short with your spouse. You might be beating yourself up. Mental clutter again, that's what then often happens, that we beat ourselves up, we judge ourselves. It doesn't make things any better. On the contrary. So a lot of negative effects. So unfortunately, not much positive
for sure
about it. And again, the science can prove it now. So they did some measuring of the brain, and it lights up like crazy, and adrenaline gets released, and we're in fight and flight mode, and it's just not at our best. And so it has a huge effect.
Absolutely.
Go on forever.
I feel like no. I'm getting stressed hearing about them now. Like, I'm like, that's so true. There's so many negative side effects, or negative ways that clutter impacts our lives, and we don't really even think about it, right? So it's good to at least identify how clutter affects us. Let's talk about the physical clutter then. What are some tips you have for us when it comes to avoiding that physical clutter? Like, how, for someone like me, that if you can't see, my desk is a bit messy right now, how do we start and declutter our workspace?
So I talk sometimes about boundaries. So we wanna make breathing space for us. So like, if just notice how you feel on this cluttered desk. And I always say, like, if you can just at least give you the breathing space right there on your desk. And what I notice a lot of times when I help people is whatever is on their desk often doesn't even have anything to do with what they're doing right now. It has to do with all kinds of other stuff, or it's piled up for months already, and literally is just like a daily and hourly reminder of them not having things in order. So if you could just at least give yourself the breathing space on your desk, you can pile it up somewhere else. Like, it's not ideal, but pile it up somewhere else. Similarly, on the computer, especially now, we come all out of 1.5 years for sure working mostly from home. And on the computer, like, even people who didn't work that much on the computer worked more on the computer. So also on the computer, start making it so when you start the computer, you're not getting bombarded with 7 million icons on your
on
your homepage. That just, you can just take 5 seconds and look how it feels when you open it up, and try to just start cleaning this. Again, like always say, like, boundaries. You can have a lot of stuff. We all have a lot of stuff, but don't let it come all the way to you. So that is the first step, I would say. Like, just get yourself some breathing space.
I love that you say take like a few seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds to just understand how you feel, because I love that, because it's about tuning into yourself, right? Like understanding if you're I guess some people are okay living with clutter, I don't know, or like some kind of clutter, maybe they don't mind having it in one corner, and the other corner, as long as it's clean, it doesn't bother them at all. They don't feel any kind of negative emotion, so maybe that's okay. But for someone like me, that like I see my desk and I'm stressed already a little bit, it doesn't help me, right?
Yeah. And you know, it's like the people who say it doesn't bother them, they might just not realize that it bothers them because they're so used to it.
Right.
It's like and this is the amazing thing of our brain. Our brain is so adaptable. It's literally like generally our body. Like you can put something different in your car. If your car needs gas, your car needs gas. You can't put in diesel. But our body, we can put in stuff that isn't that healthy and it still functions. And it's the same with the brain. It has this amazing ability to, even on just 20% still like function, it just doesn't function to its full capacity. So if you say that, oh, I have no problem with chaos around, I would argue that you actually do. You just are so used to the mess and so used to not having your full energy and your full focus that you don't even know.
That's a good point. So for us to have this supportive environment, supportive workspace that, helps us instead of stresses us out, what are some things that we should focus on? So for example, if I were to start cleaning up my space or decluttering today, what should I do first?
So it depends what area we're talking about. But if we're talking about the desk, for example, and if this is usually not very emotional stuff. So because always when we get into emotional stuff, it becomes tricky. But office stuff is usually emotional. With emotional, I mean it's not something we're really attached to and love it and whatever. It's just a freaking mess, So the first thing I always suggest is, like I said, clean at least the surface of your desk to give yourself breathing room and only have on there whatever is the absolute minimum you need. Like you can have everything else somewhere else. So I have this system where it comes from gardening, from permaculture, but I feel like it has such a good mental picture too. So it's almost like these concentric rings. So I'm in the middle. I'm the center of the universe. No, we love that as entrepreneurs, to be the center of the universe. So here, to be supported is you want to have on your desk only what you actually right now need and not more, because that helps you to stay focused. Then on the next ring out, you have everything that you don't necessarily need all day long in front of you, but you don't want to have to get up and get it. So you want to place it there. And the further away it is from you, the less you need it on a daily basis. And what I often see is people do exactly the opposite. They have like tax files that they need to file somewhere for years on their desk piled up, or some other papers piled up on their desk, and they have no business to be on their desk. They're taking up real estate, or however you want to call it, peace of mind. So that's where I would focus. And this is different for anybody. Like this, what you actually feel like you need around you, that you feel you can work productive, might be different than what I need around. But I mean, these days we all have a computer. We probably have a keyboard. If you have a separate one, I have a separate mouse. This is what I need. I can't deal with the mouse on my laptop, so I need a separate mouse. I have a pad with a pen so I can jot something down, and I have a phone. But everything else I want to get away from me so that actually can work, And then maybe sometimes you have a client call and then you need to have notes. Then either you pull up the notes on your computer, but you have nothing else open so that you actually can concentrate. So it's basically that you just creating the environment around you that helps you focus and not get distracted and not lose energy on some frivolous things that have nothing to do with what you're trying to do right now. And that's what we're doing most of the time. Or when people, and I mean, I have become a little chaotic sometimes too, if life gets stressful, or if the business day gets stressful, nothing works the way you want or whatever. Like I had it the other day when the printer didn't want to work, you get a little stressed out and you start piling up all kinds of stuff. But you just check in with you and feel how you feel. And then when you're just creating this breathing space for yourself again, you notice how much better you feel. That's where I would
Absolutely.
start, and then, so that's where I do have, like I have a guided process how you go and you figure out what it is for you that you need. And like I said, some people may need a plant or a flower there to feel comfortable. Others don't want to have anything like that. So yeah, figure out exactly what it is that you need and then create this space like that. Most people never figure out what they need. They just have on their desk whatever ends up on their desk.
Yeah. That's so true. I think it's very important when you mention at your desk, like on your desk, it should be things that you need,
Yeah.
like you need to be using. If it's something that you might use in the future, put that away because you don't need that right now. It's just adding extra stress to your desk, extra clutter to your desk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you create then spaces, like it's of course a little bit of a longer process, but you can start today, and it's not something that you decide today how it has to be and then it's all wonderful. I always say, like, this is a process, because you start tweaking and you start cleaning and making space, and then you start working in it, and then you realize, oh, wait a second, I put this thing way too far away, I need to bring this closer again. Or other things you notice, okay, this sat now here for 5 days, I never even touched it, so this doesn't have to be here. So this is just a process, and then always checking in and seeing what you need and how you feel, and does it make me feel more focused? Do I actually get more things done?
Absolutely. Yeah. So you talk about previously when you were having a chat with the different things that you do and different things that we're going to discuss during the interview. You talked about building habits and systems and processes. I think habits, especially, it's so big. It's hard to get started when you have no idea what you're doing. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about how do we build those habits, and what should we be focusing on when it comes to daily things that we could do to kind of improve and help us declutter?
Yeah, one of the things I always say is a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away. So what you want to try to do is, and we always have the tendency, we want to change 180 degrees, like, oh, I'm this clutter bug, but now as of tomorrow, everything is wonderful, I'm all organized, and every second of the day I'm going to be all perfect. And it's not going to happen that way. So we need to, so there's a whole another science around how you change habits, and it is hard because we're creatures of habits. So the old habits we're having, they want to stay with us, they're clinging on us. And so one of the best habits I feel is, especially around the desk and the office, is if you can just at the end of the day take a timer or whatever before you run out the office and go out or go cook dinner or whatever. Take 5 minutes and straighten your desk out again, make it more organized, clean again for the next morning, so that when you come in the office the next morning, you actually are welcomed by a clean desk. And if you could just start with this, you will start to feel how much better it feels coming into the office in the morning and not seeing a desk that is scattered full of papers or whatever you're having on there. I mean, sometimes people are having interesting things on their desk. So whatever it is, it's kind of like thinking of we can become like thinking of your future self. So how do I want to feel tomorrow morning? What would I want to see on the desk tomorrow morning? And what do I for sure don't want to see, And then just take the 5 minutes and start small and start with little steps. You can also build in a little 5-minute increment steps during the day. Like sometimes we're just thinking like, oh, we have to go. And sometimes it would be good, we would take a step back. But instead of just sitting here and thinking, oh, I should slow down a little, we could, for example, if we have to file something, whether it's on the computer digitally or really in paper, we could just take 5 minutes and put that away, And during that time, give our brain a little bit of a mental break, There is, I'm very, very strong on just take these little increments and start doing this. The good thing about it is if you start also like getting rid of these things on your desk or cleaning your office up like a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away over and over, you're creating the habit that then afterwards keeps it. the way it is. What a lot of people do is they say, oh, next Saturday, I'm going to declutter my office and then it's all wonderful. Then they declutter for 3 or 4 or 5 hours or however long. But by Wednesday the next week, their office is a mess again because they haven't changed how they're working during the day. So don't try to become perfect from today to tomorrow or Friday to next Monday, but start small and start with increments, and always think like, how could I make it easier for me? What is hard right now, and how could I make it easier? It's not rocket scientist. It's checking in with you, what we often forget.
Absolutely. I love that you talk about doing small things, like making small improvements, making them into habits. Can we talk a little bit more about the emotion clutter? Because I feel like emotion clutter, mental clutter, like you said, it's a huge thing that people might not think about when they think about decluttering. How do we, like, do you have any tips for us regarding how to kind of overcome that mental clutter or the emotional clutter?
Yeah, it's some of the hardest clutter. Mental. I'm struggling with that too. I may not struggle with physical. I don't struggle with digital really, like the majority of degree. Don't have 50,000 emails in my inbox, but mental clutter is really hard. And so, like, if we come already with a mental thought and saying, "Oh, I can't. I've never been organized, so I can't do it," or my mom already said I'm a chaotic person. Or I have no time to get organized. That's another one. Not realizing how much time you're wasting trying to deal with the chaos. Yeah, and then the emotional clutter comes then because we're feeling stressed. We don't feel good, but we're feeling like we're having to hustle on and just override these feelings. So we're stuffing them down. And this is when we're sometimes getting really frustrated, or we may explode in the wrong moment, if you're like me, and we're beating ourselves up. So we are mostly the ones who are suffering from the mental and the emotional clutter, although there could be outbursts when it gets too hard. And to deal with that again is be aware, be mindful. How do I feel? Maybe sometimes just taking 3 deep breaths can help, as stereotype as it may sound. Or again, thinking again, okay, how can I make it easier? And do I really need to hold on to this thought, oh, I can't be organized? Maybe you can just think, so far I haven't been able to be organized, but I can figure it out, or I can do a little bit every day, and I may not become perfect. And who wants to be perfect anyways? We're way more approachable also for our clients when we're not perfect. But 80%, like, have you heard of the 80-20 rule? Like, if you could just be 80% organized, it will help you so much, So
Yeah, that's so powerful. 100%. It's all about taking small steps. I love your motto. Small, what was it again? Take a few seconds.
Yeah, well, a few minutes a day keeps the chaos away,
Love
It's
it.
just like literally, and you could take 5 minutes in the morning, or you take 5 minutes at night, or in the evening before you leave your office. You could take 5 minutes before you go for your lunch break. If you start implementing this and just straighten out certain things. And then, of course, there's other things, like we have to put systems in place. We have to find a home for everything. It helps so much if you have a home for everything, because then to get the habit established to put it back in the home is easier than if you don't have a home, but all like in small increments, because our brain can't really handle these huge changes. That's when we fall off the wagon, or we drop the ball, or whatever you want to call it, is when we're trying to do too much, because we are creatures of habit. We have to work with how we're built, and we're built like, if we wouldn't be creatures of habit, we all couldn't drive a car, we couldn't eat.
True.
We would have to be focused on breathing, but our body breathes for us, no, and our stomach digests for us. So this is all what happens unconsciously. And a lot of the habits we're having, where we're just throwing things somewhere, or we're creating a mess around us, are these habits that we're not even really aware of. And so that's why when we're becoming mindful, what is not working here, and then step by step and minute for minute starting to change, it's more sustainable.
Yeah,
to actually see
absolutely.
progress.
Oh my gosh, amazing. Thank you so much. But do have to start wrapping up, but I just want to say thank you because I feel like everyone has clutter of some sort in their lives.
Yeah.
And it's so important to take small steps and make small habits to be able to make the difference and change for the better. And it doesn't require like one day we're just going to do everything in this one day. No, it's about
Doesn't
taking
work.
small steps. Love
Doesn't
that.
work. And on top, and I really want to stress that out because I'm really good at that too. We have to be mindful what we're thinking. Not beating yourself up. Like if you're starting, for example, now with these tips I gave, and you notice in 3 days that your desk is messy again, instead of beating yourself up, you just say, oh, interesting. Okay, so something isn't working how I thought. Because that's the other thing. We always think with our brain, oh, it would work this way. But then in practice, it doesn't work because you have maybe forgotten that you do something unconsciously, and that's why it's not working. So just be aware and just say, oh, okay, this doesn't work like that. Okay, let's figure out what would make it easier, what would work, a few minutes a day at a time. Yeah.
Incredible. Thank you so much. Okay, before we start wrapping up, I know that you have a special gift for us. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So it's the two version it comes. So it's either a PDF that you can download that tells you my philosophy with these like the boundary of having a clear desk and then what goes where. It just guides you through what in your life or in your business might be in what area to have. And so that's the PDF, and that's a lot of people love just the PDF. But if you wanted to be guided through the process, you can sign up. It's the same thing. It's just drip email. So I think it's every day or every other day is an email coming in your inbox and says, okay, today you're thinking about this. Today you're doing this. It gives you a little bit of a jump start because oftentimes people download the PDF, but then they never read it. But then if the email comes in your inbox, unless you have so many emails in there that you don't find it, it helps you.
Yeah, and it's small habits, like small emails every day, small actions you can take every day, right?
Yeah, and just increment and always check in how you feel and just trying to think of boundaries. I feel that's a good thing. Like give yourself breathing space every day a little bit more and a little less stressful. And you will see you will become way more effective and serve your clients better.
And where can people find you online as well? Where can people connect with you?
Yeah. So the hub where you find everything is on my website. My website is connygraf.com. So it's CONNYGRAF.com. There you find everything. But so for example, on Instagram, my handle is I am Conny Graf, also with Conny with a Y. On Facebook, it is facebook.com/chaos to peace. So that's where you find me, or you can just Google Conny Graf. You should find me that way too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yes, I'll make sure to put all of the links in the description box for anyone and everyone that's interested in connecting with Conny. Thank you again so much for being on your Entrepreneur Resources show. For entrepreneur that's listening, in case you want to get a summary of the interview, make sure to check out our show notes, which I'll link in the description box as well. We've got our live interviews here with experts twice a week, so make sure to stay tuned and join our community on Facebook. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll chat with you very soon and have a great rest